Let me take you on a journey, a story of hope, passion, unexpected turns, and the kind of secrets that change everything. Picture this: two strangers, far away from the lands they once called home, arriving in a new country with dreams glimmering like fragile stars against an endless sky. They meet at a language school, a place where the tapestry of diverse cultures interweaves with the promise of a fresh start. This is the story of Adrian and Layla, whose lives become irrevocably intertwined in a dance of language, laughter, and love. A love that, over the span of 5 years, grows deep and seemingly unassailable, until one fateful day, the truth reveals itself in a manner that shatters everything Adrian ever believed in. Adrian arrived in this new land with little more than a suitcase, a head full of ambition, and a heart open to every possibility. He was a man of quiet determination, someone who had seen the rough edges of life in his home country, yet always held fast to the hope that somewhere, somehow, he could build a life of meaning. The language school was his first step, a place where every word learned was a small victory over isolation, and every conversation a bridge to a future where he might finally belong. It was there, in a sunlit classroom with chalk-dusted blackboards and the gentle murmur of multilingual voices, that he first saw Layla. Layla, with her warm smile and eyes that seemed to hold centuries of untold stories, was a mystery wrapped in delicate grace. Her accent hinted at a distant land, one with traditions and customs so different from the new world they now inhabited. From the very beginning, there was something about her that captivated Adrian, a magnetic pull that drew him in despite the language barriers and cultural differences. As weeks turned into months, their interactions blossomed from simple greetings to deep conversations filled with dreams, fears, and the kind of laughter that made the world seem a little less heavy. In those early days, every moment spent together was imbued with an almost magical quality. They would share coffee in cozy cafes after class, wander through city parks under the soft glow of twilight, and exchange stories of the lives they had left behind. For Adrian, Layla was not merely a companion in a strange land. She was the embodiment of hope, a reminder that even when the past is heavy with pain, the future can be crafted with the delicate hands of love and resilience. Their relationship was a quiet revolution, a subtle defiance of the loneliness that so often haunts the immigrant heart. As the seasons changed, so too did the contours of their bond. What began as a friendship built on mutual curiosity and shared challenges grew into a romance that was both tender and intense. In the confines of language classes, in the gentle hum of everyday life, they discovered a connection that transcended words. Adrian found himself entranced by Layla's gentle kindness and her unyielding spirit, qualities that shone through even on the darkest days. And Layla, in turn, was drawn to Adrian's steadfast determination and the way his eyes sparkled with hope every time he spoke of a future where dreams could be realized. They embarked on countless adventures together, exploring the hidden corners of their adopted city, sampling exotic cuisines at bustling street markets, and dancing under the stars at small, intimate gatherings. Each experience, every shared smile, wove them closer together, creating a tapestry of memories that promised a future filled with endless possibilities. Their love story was not the stuff of grand gestures and dramatic declarations, but rather the quiet, persistent rhythm of two hearts beating in unison against the odds of fate. For 5 years, it seemed that nothing could disturb the delicate equilibrium they had created. They built a life together in this new country, one that was filled with the colors of hope and the sound of laughter. Adrian, who had once arrived as a lone wanderer, now felt at home in the warmth of Layla's embrace. They navigated the complexities of a new language and a new culture, leaning on each other for strength and comfort as they faced the challenges of adapting to unfamiliar surroundings. In the gentle moments of shared solitude, they dreamed of a future where every hardship was overcome by the power of their love. Yet, as with all great tales, there is a shadow that lurks behind the brightest light, a secret so profound that its revelation threatens to shatter the very foundation of trust. It began subtly, almost imperceptibly, like a faint murmur on the wind. Adrian started noticing small inconsistencies in Layla's stories, details that didn't quite add up, moments when her gaze would falter as if haunted by memories she dared not share. At first, he dismissed these signs as the quirks of someone who had lived a life of hidden complexities, assuming that everyone carried scars from their past. But slowly, the pieces of the puzzle began to align into a picture he could neither ignore nor understand. It was a quiet evening, the kind where the world outside is hushed under the soft glow of the moon, when Adrian stumbled upon a slip of paper tucked away in a book that Layla had lent him long ago. The paper, yellowed with age and written in a delicate, flowing script, carried a date and a name he did not recognize. His heart pounded in his chest as he read the words, each one a nail in the coffin of the certainty he had built around their love. The name belonged to someone from Layla's past, a person who was more than just a fleeting memory. It was then that the realization hit him like a cold gust of wind. The woman he loved, the woman who had become the center of his universe, was not entirely free to be with him. In the days that followed, a creeping dread settled over Adrian. Every conversation, every shared laugh, now carried an undercurrent of doubt. He found himself retracing their steps, searching for clues in the familiar rhythms of their life together. The warmth of their shared moments now seemed tinged with an inexplicable coldness, as if a part of Layla had been concealed all along, a secret locked away behind layers of carefully constructed stories. Adrian's mind churned with questions that had no easy answers. Who was this other person? What had Layla not told him? And, most painfully, why had she hidden this part of herself from the man who had given her his heart so completely? Determined to seek the truth, Adrian began a quiet investigation. He combed through old photographs, revisited the places where Layla had spent her childhood, and even reached out to acquaintances who might shed light on the enigmatic past that she had so carefully guarded. With each revelation, the tapestry of her life became more intricate and fraught with the echoes of decisions made long ago. He learned that Layla hailed from a country where traditions ran deep, where arranged marriages were often the norm, and where the ties of family honor and duty were not easily broken. In that context, the revelation that she had been married all along took on a complexity that transcended the simple notion of betrayal. As Adrian pieced together the fragments of Layla's past, he discovered a story marked by pain and resilience. A story of a young woman caught between the expectations of her homeland and the call of her own heart. Layla had entered into a marriage at a tender age, a union arranged by her family in the hopes of securing her future. But as she grew older, her spirit yearned for something beyond the constraints of a predetermined fate. It was in the quiet rebellion of her soul that she had sought escape, and it was in the vibrant corridors of a language school that she had found a glimpse of freedom, a world where she could redefine herself on her own terms. In that moment of revelation, Adrian felt both the weight of her past and the fragility of the love they had built together. The truth, once unearthed, was a bitter elixir that left Adrian reeling. The shock of the discovery was compounded by a torrent of emotions: anger, betrayal, and an overwhelming sense of loss. He felt as though the foundation of their shared life, once so solid and unyielding, had been undermined by secrets that had been buried beneath layers of time and tradition. Every moment they had shared now carried the sting of deceit, and the future they had so lovingly envisioned was shrouded in uncertainty. How could he reconcile the woman he loved with the hidden past that had been kept from him? But even as Adrian grappled with the raw pain of the revelation, a part of him refused to let go of the memories of laughter, tenderness, and the unspoken promises they had once exchanged under starlit skies. The man in him, the one who had seen the beauty in Layla's eyes and believed in the transformative power of love, found himself at a crossroads. Could their bond, forged in the fires of shared dreams and tempered by the passage of time, survive the brutal truth of her hidden marriage? Or was their love destined to be consumed by the very secrets that had once brought them together? The days that followed were a blur of heartache and introspection. Adrian confronted Layla with the evidence he had painstakingly gathered, his voice trembling with a mixture of sorrow and indignation. The confrontation was neither explosive nor angry in the conventional sense. It was a quiet, anguished plea for the truth. Layla, her eyes filled with a sorrow that seemed to span lifetimes, admitted that she had once been married in her home country. She explained that the marriage had been arranged by her family, a union that had been more about duty than love, and that she had felt trapped by the oppressive expectations that had defined her early life. In her heart, she had always yearned for freedom, for a chance to write her own destiny. When she arrived in this new country, the language school became her sanctuary, a place where she could shed the burdens of her past and embrace the possibility of a love that was truly her own. Yet, even as she spoke, the air between them was thick with the pain of unspoken truths. Adrian listened with a mixture of disbelief and empathy, torn between the love he felt for the woman who had given him so much and the betrayal that now threatened to tear them apart. Layla's confession was a revelation of both her vulnerability and her strength, a testament to the complexities of a life lived at the intersection of tradition and modernity. She had never intended to deceive him. Rather, she had been so consumed by her own struggle for freedom that she had never fully reckoned with the implications of her past. Now, faced with the reality of the situation, she could only offer a heart full of remorse and a plea for understanding. In the long, silent hours that followed, as the weight of the revelation settled like a heavy fog around them, Adrian and Layla were forced to confront the fundamental question of what it meant to love someone unconditionally. Could a love that had blossomed in the fertile soil of shared dreams and whispered hopes withstand the storm of secrets and lies? Or was it destined to be extinguished by the harsh light of truth? Their relationship, once a vibrant tapestry of colors and textures, now seemed frayed at the edges, each thread a painful reminder of a past that could not be undone. Adrian retreated into himself, spending long hours wandering the streets of the city, grappling with a storm of emotions that ranged from searing anger to profound sorrow. The vibrant neighborhoods he had once explored with Layla now felt alien, as if every familiar corner concealed a shadow of doubt. In the quiet solitude of a park bench under a gnarled oak tree, he replayed every memory, every smile, every tender moment they had shared. Was it possible that love, as deep and all-encompassing as theirs, could survive the weight of a hidden truth? The question haunted him, a relentless echo in the recesses of his mind. Meanwhile, Layla was consumed by her own inner torment. She wandered through the crowded streets and quiet alleys of their adopted city, her heart heavy with regret and longing for a life that might have been. Each step was a reminder of the choices she had made, the decisions that had led her to a new beginning, and the secrets that now threatened to destroy everything she held dear. The language school, once a symbol of hope and transformation, had become a silent witness to her inner battles, a place where every word learned and every conversation held a double meaning of joy and sorrow. Days turned into weeks as the chasm between them widened with every unspoken word and every tear shed in solitude. Friends and acquaintances, once drawn to the radiant energy of their shared love, began to sense the undercurrents of tension and heartbreak. Whispers of doubt and regret spread like wildfire through their social circles, each rumor a small crack in the fragile facade of normalcy they had so carefully constructed. Yet, amid the swirling vortex of emotions, there remained a part of Adrian that clung to the hope that love could indeed conquer even the darkest of secrets. One chilly evening, as a bitter wind swept through the city streets and the first hints of winter crept in, Adrian found himself standing on the threshold of a small cafe where he and Layla had spent many happy hours. The familiar scent of freshly brewed coffee and baked pastries mingled with the quiet murmur of conversations, a stark contrast to the turbulent emotions raging within him. It was here, in the soft glow of a vintage lamp, that he finally resolved to confront the past, not with anger, but with the quiet determination of a man who still believed in the power of forgiveness. With a heavy heart and trembling hands, he reached out to Layla, inviting her to meet one last time to talk. Not as lovers bound by the constraints of a hidden past, but as two souls seeking to understand the true nature of love and redemption. In that dimly lit corner of the cafe, surrounded by the comforting clatter of porcelain and the soft strains of an old piano, Adrian and Layla sat facing each other. The air was charged with unspoken apologies and the faint glimmer of hope that perhaps, after all the pain, there was still a way forward. They spoke at length, their voices a gentle murmur amid the quiet buzz of the evening. Layla recounted her life before coming to this new country. The pressures of an arranged marriage, the suffocating expectations of her family, and the desperate yearning for freedom that had driven her to seek refuge in a language school. Adrian, in turn, listened with a heavy heart, his mind a storm of conflicting emotions. He asked questions not out of anger, but out of a deep desire to understand the woman he had come to love so fiercely. He wanted to know if the love they had shared was real, or if it was built on the shifting sands of secrets and half-truths. The conversation stretched into the night, each word a tentative step toward reconciling a past filled with pain and a future that seemed uncertain. There were moments of silence when the weight of their revelations pressed down like an anchor, and moments when their eyes met with the shared understanding of a love that had weathered more than most. Yet, even as they spoke, the boundaries between forgiveness and betrayal blurred. Adrian was torn between the desire to let go of the hurt and the lingering sting of deception, while Layla was caught in a desperate plea for acceptance, a plea that her past should not dictate the potential of what they could build together in the future. As dawn broke over the city, painting the sky in hues of soft pink and lavender, a fragile truce seemed to settle between them. It was not a resolution, nor was it a promise that all wounds would heal overnight. Rather, it was the beginning of a long and uncertain journey, a journey in which both would have to learn to navigate the delicate balance between love and loss, between the desire for a fresh start and the inescapable pull of a hidden past. Adrian and Layla parted that morning with heavy hearts and a silent understanding that the road ahead would be fraught with challenges. Yet, there was also a glimmer of hope, a hope that perhaps, through time and the willingness to confront their deepest fears, they could find a way to reconcile the past with the promise of a new beginning. In the days, weeks, and months that followed, the two embarked on separate paths of introspection and healing. Adrian immersed himself in his work and the vibrant cultural life of the city, seeking solace in the creative expressions of art, music, and literature that spoke to the universal longing for redemption. The pain of betrayal gradually gave way to a cautious optimism, a realization that the human heart is resilient, capable of mending even the deepest fractures if given time and space to breathe. Layla, too, set out on her own journey of self-discovery. She reconnected with old friends and sought counseling to help unravel the tangled threads of her past. In her quiet moments of reflection, she pondered the choices she had made and the consequences that had rippled through the fabric of her life. She longed not only for forgiveness from Adrian, but also for a chance to forgive herself, a chance to let go of the guilt that had weighed her down for so long. Time, as it often does, became a gentle healer. Slowly, the raw edges of their pain softened, and both began to find moments of peace amid the storm of their emotions. They occasionally met in neutral spaces, a familiar park, a quiet bookstore, where they could speak as friends, sharing updates on their lives, and acknowledging the indelible mark that their shared past had left on them. In these meetings, there was no pretense of a happily ever after, but rather an honest recognition of the complexities of love and the resilience of the human spirit. Adrian found himself reflecting on the irony of their journey, a love story that had begun with the promise of new beginnings in a foreign land, only to be marred by secrets that spanned continents and cultures. Yet, in that irony, there was also a lesson that the heart is not defined by its scars, but by its capacity to love despite them. As the years passed, both Adrian and Layla continued to grow and evolve. Adrian, ever the seeker of truth, found that the quest to understand Layla's past had ultimately led him to a deeper understanding of himself. The journey had forced him to confront not only the pain of betrayal, but also the imperfections inherent in every human heart. He came to appreciate that love, in all its beauty and frailty, was a complex tapestry woven from both light and shadow. Layla, on her part, emerged as a more self-assured woman, one who had finally come to terms with the choices that had once seemed so insurmountable. In embracing her past, she began to see that every experience, no matter how painful, had shaped her into the person she was meant to become. The lessons of her youth, the burden of an arranged marriage, and the struggle for freedom had all contributed to a resilience that now shone through in the quiet determination of her eyes. Yet, even as time softened the sharp edges of their shared history, the memory of that fateful revelation remained, a constant reminder of the fragile nature of trust and the importance of honest communication. There were moments when Adrian would catch a glimpse of Layla's gaze, filled with a silent sorrow for what might have been, and he would wonder if the cost of their love had been too high. But in those moments, he also recalled the countless instances of joy and tenderness that had punctuated their years together. Their love, though tested by secrets and the passage of time, had not been a fleeting infatuation, but a profound connection that defied simple categorization. And so, the story of Adrian and Layla continued, a tale of two souls who had met in a foreign land, whose lives had been forever altered by the promise of a new beginning, and whose journey together was marked by both beauty and pain. Their relationship was not the story of a perfect romance, but rather a testament to the enduring power of forgiveness, the complexity of human nature, and the idea that sometimes the most profound love stories are those that emerge from the crucible of adversity. In a world where the past can often overshadow the present, they learned that healing was a process, a slow, deliberate unfolding of truth and acceptance that required courage, vulnerability, and a willingness to embrace life in all its imperfections. As I share this tale with you, dear listener, I invite you to reflect on the nature of love and the ways in which our past shape who we become. There is a quiet beauty in the struggle to overcome the mistakes of yesterday, in the search for redemption, and the hope that, even in the face of betrayal, the human heart can find a way to forgive and move forward. Adrian and Layla's journey is a reminder that love is not a static state, but a dynamic, ever-evolving force, one that requires both passion and patience, courage and compassion. It is a journey that, while fraught with obstacles, offers the possibility of renewal and the promise that every ending can also be a new beginning. In the end, their story is not defined solely by the secret that came to light after 5 long years, but by the resilience they both showed in the aftermath, a resilience that allowed them to rebuild, to learn, and to ultimately honor the love that had brought them together in the first place. Their path was not easy, and the road ahead remained uncertain, but the strength of their bond, tested by time and tempered by the truth, serve as a beacon of hope for anyone who has ever loved and lost, who has ever had to navigate the murky waters of the past in search of a brighter future. So, let this tale of two foreigners in a new country, of a language school that became a haven for dreams, of a love that blossomed amid the challenges of cultural boundaries, and of secrets that threatened to tear everything apart, serve as a reminder that life is a journey full of unexpected twists and turns. It is a journey that teaches us that sometimes the hardest truths are the ones that ultimately lead us to a deeper understanding of ourselves, and that the bonds of love, when nurtured with honesty and compassion, have the power to transcend even the darkest of revelations. And as you carry these words in your heart, remember that every story, no matter how painful, holds within it the potential for transformation. The past may cast long shadows, but it is in the light of truth and forgiveness that we find the strength to move forward. Adrian and Layla's journey is far from over, and like the unfurling petals of a delicate flower, their love continues to evolve. reminding us all that even in the face of betrayal, there's always hope for a new beginning, and always the possibility of healing the wounds of yesterday with the promise of tomorrow.